What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. For this next video, and for my next movie review, I'm going to be reviewing the follow-up movie to the movie 300, which came out in 2006. That follow-up movie is 300 Rise of an Empire. This movie came out just last year, actually. And like I said, it is the follow-up to 300. And 300, real quick, 300 was an unbelievable film. It really was visually spectacularly shot, visually stunning. It really was packed with a very strong performance from Gerard Butler as King Leonidas. And that made 300 a very good movie. So, now this movie picks up after the actually, this movie starts around 300. So, there are events in this movie before the actual 300 battle happens. The Battle of Thermopylae, the Battle of the 300, basically. Thermopylae, something like that. I can't really pronounce the name. Thermopylae, something like that. But anyway, the Battle of the 300, I'm going to call it. So, right after, 300 Rise of an Empire, it takes place, there are events before the 300 battle actually happens, and then there are events in the movie that happen afterwards. So it's kind of a dual prequel/sequel in some ways, but it is counted as a actual sequel to the movie, basically. So in this film, we pretty much pick up from where 300 left off. There are two major battles that occur in this movie. This movie is based on two important battles, which are the Battle of Artemisium and the Battle of Salamis. These battles were primarily between the Athenian army and the Persian army. And also this story is based on the unreleased Frank Miller graphic novel named Xerxes. Still unreleased. One thing about the direction, Zack Snyder actually did not direct this film. A man named Noam Murrow directed the film. But Zack Snyder did act as a writer and producer on Rise of an Empire. You have a returning cast that includes Rodrigo Santoro, who played Xerxes in the first film, and Lena Headey, who plays Queen Gorgo of Sparta in this movie as well. Both of these characters don't have as much to do in this film as they do in 300, but they still are solid additions to the cast, definitely. They're still solid additions. They continue the job they did on 300. I didn't really talk about Rodrigo Santoro as Xerxes in my 300 review, but I thought he was pretty good. Lena Headey, I thought, was a good secondary cast member to Gerard Butler. Gerard Butler stole the show, rightly so. But Lena Headey did a pretty darn good job being like that secondary character in 300. She is that way again in Rise of an Empire, and so is Rodrigo Santoro. Some new characters find their way into the fray. Sullivan Stapleton is the lead actor now. He pretty much takes over that Gerard Butler as King Leonidas role. Sullivan Stapleton, except he doesn't play King Leonidas, Sullivan Stapleton plays General Themistocles of Athens. He's a war hero, a general, and there is a little bit of history between Themistocles and Xerxes. Something happened in Xerxes' past which motivates him, compels him to seek revenge on Themistocles. And then the other new addition to the cast is Eva Green For those of you who know about Eva Green, her biggest role so far has been the role of Vesper Lynd in the 2006 James Bond film Casino Royale. Now, I personally think, going a little bit off topic here, I've said it before, I'll say it again, Vesper Lynd is my favorite Bond girl out of the whole Bond girls in the series. Now getting back to what we're actually talking about. But yeah, Eva Green is in this film. She plays Artizima, or however you pronounce the name. She is second in command to Xerxes. She is tough, cool, calculating, and she's a warrior. I mean, she's an all-out warrior, and she has a dark, dark past, which motivates her to, compels her to take revenge. Pretty much, Eva Green, or Artizima and Xerxes, they are both motivated by past wrongdoings, and they want to take revenge, and they're pretty much the same character in that scenario. Anyway, they want to take revenge on Persia and the Greek city-states. The Greek city-states include Olympus, Thebes, Olympia, Thebes, Athens, and Sparta. In the movie, you see Athens trying to gain support from Sparta in the war against Persia. So the battles are, I can tell you right now, the battles are pretty breathtaking. They really are. These battles occur in the sea. This is a Navy battle. This is pretty much a naval battle exclusively in the movie, between the Persian fleet of ships, which are huge, vastly outnumber the Athenian ships, which are small. But if we've learned anything from history, it's that smaller is better in terms of ships, because back in the 1580s, 1588, 1589, you had the Spanish Armada go up against the English ships. You had the Spanish Armada, which was this vast, magnificent naval empire, going up against the small English empire. And we all know how that turned out. If you don't know how it actually turned out, go back and search for history. But the Spanish Armada was defeated. They were very much defeated, and it was hailed as a big victory for the English. For sure. I think it was the English. Anyway, if I'm wrong about that, please comment in the section down below and let me know what actually happened. I'm thinking that's what happened, but just to make sure. But anyway, yeah. You see in the film Artemisia, I think that's how you pronounce it. Artemisia tries to convince Themistocles to join the Spartan army, or not the Spartan army, but the Persian army, because she realizes how great of a warrior Themistocles is. The scenes between them are very good. So, if you go back in history, definitely, because 300 Rise of an Empire, contrary to popular belief, is based on a true story. It's not just based on the comic book, the comic books and all that 300 was known for. 300 was a very popular comic book series by Frank Miller, who also created Sin City. There is definitely historical events in this film which take precedence, really. You know the history, but the history of it, to me, is secondary to the amazing battle scenes. There are some incredible scenes, just like in the first film, 300. There are incredible battle scenes. There's more violence in this one. I will tell you that right now. There is more violence. There is more gratuitous violence in this film than there was in 300. There just is. And so there is more gratuitous violence and just breathtaking. A breathtaking film, definitely. It is absolutely a breathtaking film. It just does not quite measure up to 300 to me. It is a little bit of a worse movie than 300, but not that much, because this movie is pretty darn good. It's a good follow-up. It's a very good follow-up to 300, in my opinion. And what makes this movie so good is Eva Green. Eva Green stole the show as Artemisia. She just steals the show, and I'll be right back, actually. I'm gonna charge up my computer. It's at 12%. Pretty much ready to die on me. I'll just plug this in real quick. Anyway, that's done. But yeah, Eva Green just steals the show as Artemisia. It's just a really, really good performance from Eva Green. She really gets into her character. She's a woman bent on revenge. She's a femme fatale, as they often say about evil women in movies, femme fatale. She's bent on revenge. She had a rough going in her childhood, but she is hell-bent on revenge, and that is and that's very apparent in the film, for sure. Lena Headey, of course, as I said, gave a good, solid secondary performance. So did Rodrigo Santoro as Xerxes, although Xerxes didn't have as much to do in this movie as he did in the first film. And then the lead guy, Themistocles, played by Sullivan Stapleton. He was good. I liked his performance. It was a good performance. It really was. But it just was not quite at the level that Gerard Butler played King Leonidas. There was just a power and a gravitas to Gerard Butler's role as King Leonidas. He exhibited power. He exuded confidence. And you could see that in 300. This guy exudes confidence too. Themistocles does exude confidence. He's just not quite at that same level. You know, Sullivan Stapleton doesn't play him quite to that same level as Gerard Butler does as King Leonidas in the original 300 film. So not quite. Now, there are other characters in the film, some other small characters I'm not really going to get into here. They do their jobs, basically. But yeah, this movie's a very good film. I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It doesn't quite get the 5-star rating for me that I gave the first film, because I didn't think Sullivan Stapleton was quite not... He just was not... He just wasn't as good as Gerard Butler, basically, but not that far off from Gerard Butler. I also think that visually it wasn't as good as 300. It was visually done. It was visually done brilliantly. It really was, but it just didn't quite have that magic that 300 did. But still had good magic for sure. Just not that great magic like 300 did. Still, this is a pretty darn good film. The violence is upped. There are great visual spectacles in this film. Eva Green gives a great performance as Artemisia. And yeah, this because of those three things majorly, because of those three big things, 300 Rise of an Empire is a very good film for me. Just not quite to that level as the original 300. And that is it for my review on 300 Rise of an Empire. D-Rock 1992 out.